Ken Burns. I've been thinking, how's about I'll make the next documentary?
No.
What? How could you deny me my request after all those beautiful summers we spent together in that cozy little cabin by the lake?
Who are you? What are you doing here? How did you get in my house?
Look, buddy, if that's gonna be your attitude, then I'm just gonna make my own documentary. And it's gonna be better than yours. Peoples? Alright. Let's see. The Progressive Era? Who wanted to make a movie about that? Yeah. Alright. My understanding that the Progressive Era was a period between 1890 and 1920 where everybody was like, hello world! We gotta get this country shape. The Progressive Era was, in some ways, a reaction to the recent amount of industrialization that had recently occurred in America at the time. Industrialization, along with immigration and urbanization, raised a plethora of new issues which needed to be addressed.
Yeah, a bunch of us basically realized that life pretty much stunk, and so those of us that tried to do something about it, we were called progressives.
Today, we're going to look at two problems that were addressed during the Progressive Era, and then we're going to critically analyze the methods, successes, and limitations of the Progressive Era, because that's what the assignment sheet tells us to do. Now, here to help me do that is my buddy, Upton Sinclair. Upton, what was the problem that was addressed during the Progressive Era?
Meat!
Right, Upton. They see, back then, meat was going around killing everybody. That's because they were grinding up everything except meat, and then going out and passing it off as meat.
Hello! I'm the guy who does narration while we show almost irrelevant still pictures because we don't have any actual historical video footage pertaining to the topic at hand. Anyway, meat was not the only thing consumers had to fear at the time. In America, there were also many fake drugs and false remedies on the market. This was a real problem because these drugs did not require an accurate labeling of ingredients. They were pretty much all just booze. People were getting ripped off left and right. But the meatpacking industry was certainly the more disgusting and more interesting problem. Sick boil-covered cows were slaughtered for meat. Rat carcasses, rat poop, and rat poison, and anything else that was lying around the factory was all ground up. Some of it was canned, and some of it was made into sausage. In America.
And that's how meat was made. Disgusting, isn't it? Now, Upton, when you realized how gross meat was, what'd you do about it?
I wrote a book!
A book Upton Sinclair wrote about the meatpacking industry being all nasty was called The Jungle. And it was...
Honey, I'm gonna go vote.
What?
Yeah, I remember The Jungle. Yeah, it was about that little Indian boy who was raised by a homosexual bear.
No, that's The Jungle Book. We're talking about the book. The Jungle, the meat, you know.
Oh, the meat, yeah. Oh, bestseller. Great story. I laughed, I cried, and I was convinced become a vegetarian. And then one day I choked on a piece of broccoli and died.
I'm Johnny Cash. Writing was the most important method used by progressives. It was the most important because it made the public aware of all the problems in the country. Just think about it. If they don't know there's a problem, it's kind of hard for it to be reformed.
Say the line.
I'm not gonna say it. I don't want to be in your stupid movie.
Just say the line.
I don't know why you hate Ken Burns so much.
Just do it.
Writers and journalists who expose specific issues of concerns and wrongdoings were called muckrakers.
I'm Teddy Roosevelt. Like my new glasses, big stick, and pillow-shaped rolls of fat? Now let's see. Writing was really the only specific method used by progressives. Muckrakers would investigate issues they were concerned about, like unfair labor practices or unsanitary conditions in urban areas. They would then release the findings from their investigations to the general public. The public would then pressure legislators for a reform. Before Upton Sinclair wrote his novel, no one knew about all these horrible things going on in the meatpacking industry. But after they read the book, they were horrified, and I had to act. So I passed the Pure Food and Drug Act and the Meat Inspection Act. These acts required accurate labeling of ingredients, strict sanitary conditions, and a rating system for meat. The end. Dr. Dazzle. It's like Dr. Pepper, except it's full of drugs. Anyway, that meat stuff's all fine and dandy. Everything worked out.
Brian, you still have your mustache.
Oh. So meat, great, worked out, everyone's happy, alright. But discussing meat was only one of many issues that America faced at the time. For no reason in particular, let's specifically look at the issue of political bosses or machines and corrupt city governments.
Political machines were organizations usually headed by a single boss designed to keep specific people or political parties in power. This was accomplished through an exchange of favors. They would give city jobs and contracts to people, if in turn those people would vote for who the machine wanted them to. Another way the political machines got people to vote for who they wanted them to was the practice of blackmail and bribery. In America.
Hey, do I look good?
Yes.
Alright. Now, not all political bosses were out to make people's lives miserable. But they didn't always support people who were really qualified for a government job. Like, usually, they were more concerned with making money than they were with improving the city. For an example of how bad city life was back then, let's talk to this bum. Bum, what do you got to say?
Well, I didn't vote for the political boss guys wanted me to. So they beat me up and took my lunch money. Actually, I didn't have any lunch money, so they took my firstborn son. Well, actually, I didn't have a son. I have a 5-year-old daughter who works in a Band-Aid factory, putting the little plastic covers on the backs of the Band-Aids from 6 in the morning to 11 at night for 3 cents an hour. So instead of taking my firstborn son, they just took my house. Well, actually, I didn't live in a house. I live in a tiny one-roomed apartment with 18 other families where the walls are rotting and the water that comes out of the faucets tastes like cholera. So instead of taking my house, they just burned down the apartment and replaced it with a Starbucks.
Great. So there you have it, folks. Her life sucks and so do political bosses.